The convergence, NBIC. You'll see this bantered around. What it stands for is, in the inner circle, the acronym NBIC, nanotechnology on the upper left, biotechnology in the upper right, information technology and cognitive technology. That's, and of course, the lighter green around the outside gives you an idea, a clue what those refer to. These used to be all separate physical disciplines at university, you realize, every one of them. You had neuroscience department, you had an information technology department, you had a, the nanotechnology or physical sciences department. But starting about late 1990s, around 2000, these different departments began to merge together, not totally, but they began to contribute people from those departments to create this new convergent science department, where people from each of these individuals' disciplines came over and started talking to each other and working out ways that they could enhance the human condition. This has become a worldwide phenomenon, and it happened in academia before anybody paid any attention to it. Nobody knew really what was going on. I mean, who goes and gets a story? If you're a journalist, who goes to get a story at some university laboratory? It just doesn't happen. It's got to be the most boring place on the planet as far as, shock value is concerned, until now. So when they talk about convergence, they're talking about taking all four of these together and applying this new science, this NBIC science, to the condition of man, to advance the condition of man. I'm talking about your humanity, your physical body in particular here. And you can imagine every major university in the world now has a convergence department or NBIC department. Every single one of them, they're all funded by and large, to some extent, with taxpayer money. You've already seen that theme twice already, both speakers. It's not surprising, I suppose. If you don't have your own money to pay for something, get the taxpayers to pay for it. And that's exactly what they've done. University type researchers, scientists, engineers, and so on, they get their salary from the university or from grants. That's an important source as well. But they don't, the reason they have to get a job at the university is they can't support themselves outside the university. You see, there's no other place for them to go. They have to go there. The problem is they come up with do-gooder projects and stuff that affect all of us, and they never really ask us if we were interested in that in the first place. So we hear about it later and say, wait a minute, who voted on that, right? So here we go. Here's what the World Economic Forum says about transhumanism. The central premise of transhumanism, then, is that biological evolution will eventually be overtaken by advances in genetic, wearable, and implantable technologies that artificially expedite the evolutionary process. Now, I just want to let that sink in just for a second. Some of you, I realize, probably believe in evolution. Some of you may well believe in creationism. I'm not going to discuss that. But the people that are pushing transhumanism today, including the World Economic Forum, have this idea that however we got here, it wasn't by intelligent design. They're very big on evolution. It wasn't by intelligent design. However, because we now have the technology to modify the elements of life, we will take over intelligent design from here on. They honestly believe that and have said that. This is intentional. Evolution may have gotten us here by accident. Or if you're a creationist, you might say, well, whatever God created in the beginning, and here we are thousands of years later, they're saying, they come into the picture saying, whatever it was, we now are in control. We're going to hijack the evolutionary process and take over from here on. And it's not just for messenger RNA shots that are going into your arms. It's about every living thing on Earth, everything on Earth. We'll see this in a minute. This is a big topic of my book, by the way, The Evil Twins of Technocracy and Transhumanism. So I'm going to take you through some pictures. This is where 1,000 words starts to add up, right? I just want you to look at these. We're going to start out now, go back to Rio de Janeiro in 1992. Rio de Janeiro. Anybody recognize that time, that date? This is where Agenda 21 was created. This was the the place where the first Earth Summit took place. It was also called the UNCED Conference, that's UNCED, United Nations Conference on Economic Development. It was also sponsored in part by UNEP, that's the United Nations Environmental Program. And this was what kicked off modern sustainable development. This is where it started. And there were two books, or actually basically one book started it all, was Our Common Future. It was written a few years before that. But the history of building up to 1992 was very much a byproduct of scholarship that came from the Trilateral Commission from the 1970s. I'm not going to explain that to you, what it was. I'm just telling you. You can read about it in my books. You can go back and read Technocracy Rising. I discuss it extensively. Nevertheless, it came to pass. And every effort was brought into, not to mention thousands and thousands of people from all around the planet, to confirm and sign on to the treaty that established sustainable development, which you already heard of in the Sustainable Development Goals, Agenda 2030, and so on. But there were some other interesting things that happened in that time back in 1992, things that I missed along the way, I have to confess, but I learned about later. And I'll tell you, the COVID really blew it wide open, which I'm not saying that's a good thing that it happened, but sometimes there are good things that come out of disasters, right? One is our understanding of transhumanism, because if COVID hadn't happened, I don't think hardly anybody would have really gotten onto this. And now we're to the point even where, he might say this tonight, Steve Bannon said that transhumanism is going to be the major topic in the 2024 election cycle. Just wait. You'll see. I think he's right. This is coming. So I want to take you back to 1994. There were two people that attended the 1992 convention. They were the original Greens, which I distinguish from modern Greens because even though they were somewhat radical back in those days, they had a little bit more sense about them, a little bit more practical sense than the radical Greens of today. Two of those people attended as principals. They wrote a book 2 years later, and they digressed. They said, you know what, we went, we participated, we even voted, and we went to all the parties, and we heard everything that happened, and we disagree with the Rio conference altogether. They came away, and you might imagine this stuff was censored like crazy, right? No narrative came out of Rio that was allowed to continue. So their book was pretty well censored back then, but I got a copy of it and I read it and they were absolutely legitimate. But anyway, The Earth Brokers was their book. It was written by Chatterjee and Finger. And I'm going to read you a couple of things that they wrote in their book, and I have verified this since. I've done a lot of additional original research to verify this in United Nations documents themselves. Unfortunately, I have all those. And by the way, I live in a city in Tempe, where we have Arizona State University, realize. It's the most sustainable university in the world, they say. And I happened to go down there one day and I found out that they had the entire United Nations catalog of documents in their microfiche. Anybody remember microfiche? Yes. Who uses microfiche, right? Oh my gosh. Well, this is what they wrote. Starting out, just to give you an idea about UNCED, the conference in general. We argue that UNCED, that's the Rio conference, Agenda 21, has boosted precisely the type of industrial development that is destructive for the environment, the planet, and its inhabitants. We see how, as a result of UNCED, the rich will get richer, the poor poorer, while more and more of the planet is destroyed in the process. Can anybody say amen? Amen. That's exactly what's happened. They saw it. And they saw it for the right reasons back then, I have to say. But that was just to give you an idea of critical analysis that they were thinking here, you know, and it goes on though, because at the same time in the Rio conference, there was other things going on at the same time in the same place. Like you have a conference with different tracks. That's pretty common today in the commercial world. Whether it may be a technology conference, you'll have maybe one programming language over here for a track, another programming language over here for a track, and you can go to the conference and hear the keynote speakers and then go off to your own track that you want to follow. Well, the Biodiversity Convention was one of those things that was going on at the same time. In fact, I think they said, and some other people have said too, that the Biodiversity Convention was really the main thing that came out of that Rio de Janeiro conference. It was the most substantial thing that came out of it. This is what they write. This is shocking. The convention implicitly equates the diversity of life, animals and plants, to the diversity of genetic codes. By doing so, I'm reading this real slowly, I want you to get it. Diversity becomes something modern science can manipulate. It promotes biotechnology as being essential for the conservation and sustainable use of biodiversity. I believe most of you have a concept of the word biodiversity in your mind that has nothing to do with this. Species in the forest, the condition of the rainforest in the Amazon jungle, maybe. But the idea of biodiversity as manipulation of genetic codes is foreign to almost all the population, and yet this is exactly what they said. Now, they went on to say the main stake raised by the Biodiversity Convention is the issue of ownership and control over biological diversity. The major concern was protecting the pharmaceutical and emerging biotechnology industries. Can you fathom what he is saying here? Now, these are not people that would fit in with this crowd, probably, if they were here today. They were on that left green side. They're not conservative in any way, shape, or form. They were there at Rio to figure out how to solve the development problems between North and South, because the South had been raped by industrialization from the North for decades, and they were sick and tired of it. They thought Rio was going to solve that problem of development for them. They went there and they said, "Ain't no way." They're telling us, in fact, we heard this before, they're telling us that that the problem is development. So what do you need? More development. We'll fix it with more development. It sounds just kind of like what a technocrat says. You know, did our technology cause the problem? No problem. We have more technology to fix that. Oh, you took a shot maybe for some virus or something that was supposed to protect you, and oh gee, it didn't protect you. Oh, we're sorry, but now the problem, we have another shot for that. See, we'll fix it with more technology. This betting on the come philosophy in general through this whole thing is pretty striking to me, that there's always some other solution. You got a problem with development, well, more development will fix it. And that's basically what they came away from this. But the idea that they picked up on, I doubt they had any idea at the time what they had discovered, what they had concluded. Today it hits you like a ton of bricks. The main stake? Yes. This was not some, by their own admission, this was not some splinter issue. There were plenty of them. He said this is the main stake, and I'll tell you why, because they were buzzing with people from the industry. In every meeting that took place, they were swarming these committees, getting their agenda into it. The United Nations picked up biodiversity as promoting the genetic takeover of the planet. That may sound shocking, but listen. The chief medical officer of Moderna, he's now retired from there, Tal Zaks, he said, and this is on the website at one point too, got scrubbed, you might imagine, "We are actually hacking the software of life." This is Moderna, by the way, that produced the shots, you know, messenger RNA shots that go into your arm and going to make you all better. They said it's going to keep you from COVID, and even if it doesn't, it will make you so you don't get so sick if you do get it. And then we find out after the whole thing is done and gone, it not only makes you sick, it gets you sicker, and you still get COVID. but they have another booster for it. You understand? Okay, we're actually hacking the software of life. We think of it as an operating system. Chief medical officer is developing this stuff. So if you could actually change that, if you could introduce a line of code, think back to NBIC, or change a line of code, it turns out it has profound implications for everything. It kind of sets your hair on fire, doesn't it? This is the guy that, and who worked for the company that said, oh, this is perfectly safe. No problem. Human trials? No, we don't need human trials. You know, human trials. We're so smart, we're so good, we know it works. So just let everybody take it, you know, we'll figure out what. It kind of reminds you what Nancy Pelosi did once upon a time when she was passing the Affordable Care Act, right? You'll just have to read the bill before you vote on it before you get to read the bill. So they wouldn't let anybody read the bill before they passed it. You'll just have to pass it to get it. That's kind of the way he's thinking here. Profound implications. So what's been GMO'd since 1992? How about seeds, crops? Anybody here like to shop for GMO-free food in the store, whether Sprouts or wherever you shop for food? Insects. Oxitec's been releasing GMO mosquitoes in multiple places, including Florida, that have a kill switch in them so that the next generation can't survive. Animals have been GMO'd ad infinitum: pigs, chickens, turkeys. I got chickens twice, but little chickens and big chickens. Pigs now, this is interesting, so a picture came out of China of double meat pigs. You should see these pigs. Oh my gosh, like son of Frankenstein or something. Fish, a big deal on fish, salmon, trout, catfish, tilapia, striped bass, flounder, all these types of fish have been GMO'd to grow faster and quicker, and maybe with some new things in them that we've never ate before, who knows. Bacteria, viruses have been GMO'd like crazy. And lastly, humans. The human domain, of course, we're more familiar with now because of COVID. Messenger RNA, if you don't understand it, there's plenty of articles out there to go figure out what it is. RNA, you can figure that out too, and most importantly, DNA. That's the ultimate state of this, the static state of your genetic code in your body. Messenger RNA, by the way, they told us, of course, it would never, ever, ever, ever get into your DNA. Never. Right? No worries. Doesn't happen. Then a group of scientists started doing some studies, and they found out, well, son of a gun, it goes straight to when you get the shot, it goes straight to your liver, takes about 6 hours, and they discovered that it will actually, in some cases, will cause or will go through a process called reverse transcription and go straight into your DNA. This last year, I spent way too much time probably with my new friend, Dr. Judy Mikovits. And I said, okay, Judy, tell me again. One more time. Would you tell me, am I clear about this? Anyway, I got an education that was pretty unique, I have to say. But humans are on the chopping block now. Everything else that was available to edit has already been edited. And so humans were simply just the last frontier, like a Star Trek message, the last frontier. So now I'm going to give you some pictures. And I want you to think about these pictures. I'll just kind of go through them here, and you can look at them. Everybody can see them. 1971. Did you miss this one? 1971. The new genetics, man into Superman. Special section, dang. How about 1977? Did you miss this one? The DNA Führer, tinkering with life. Oh, look up there, A Day with Jimmy Carter. Why didn't they give him the shot? 1984, shaping life in the lab, the boom in genetic engineering. I think I knew that guy. No. How about 1994? Genetics, the future is now. New breakthroughs can cure disease and save lives, and how much should nature be engineered, you see? And that was the same year that The Earth Brokers was written, right? They weren't wrong. This pretty much validates what they were saying. How about 1999? Gotta love this one. It's got a snake in it. Sheesh. The future of medicine, but listen to the subtitle, if you can see it. How genetic engineering will change us in the next century. How about 2015? The Gene Machine, what the CRISPR experiments mean for humanity. The reason I'm showing you these, right, is because where were we anyway? Of course, it's Time magazine. Who buys Time anymore? Well, the reason I use Time magazine is because it was one of the original magazines, media companies that was allowed to attend the Trilateral Commission meetings back in the 70s. Time was there were about 5 or 6 different companies back then that they could go in and listen to the meetings, but they couldn't report on it. So Time has been that kind of magazine. Here's one I pulled out of Scientific American. Progress and Controversy, Genetic Engineering, and the reason I did is look down at this in the section 1 there, down in the middle, 1.2, the RNA revolution. Boy, that should have been a forewarning right there. And of course, 1.3 too, an on-off switch for genes. I don't want anybody to know what my on-off switches are. I don't know about you. Okay, here's your favorite person to hate. This is, I know, you can't make this up. A postmodern condition is the end of humanity's reliance on our congenital bodies by transforming our frail version 1.2 human bodies into their far more durable and capable version 2.0 counterparts. Are you ready? Are you ready to take them up on your far more durable and capable version of your new body, 2.0? I know some of you might have had maybe a little reconstruction or some facial lifts or something. I don't know, that kind of get things done, But 2.0 body, changing my genes, in other words? I don't think so. Nevertheless, there's a table right out the door. You can sign up. Karen, you took care of that, right? The 2.0 line will start right there. You just can't make this stuff up. When I say these people are off the rails, you cannot imagine how far off the rails you are until you see stuff like this. I'm not going to go into any diverge on anything, but I listened to some audio tapes of old-time pastors and preachers, theologians. There's one phrase that is stuck in my mind, and I periodically, when I look at stuff like this, it comes back to me. And that phrase describes what I believe these people are, not just by looking at Klaus. I mean, he's a scary-looking guy. But when you talk about transforming people's bodies through genetic engineering into something that they never voted for, never asked for, and never wanted, you have to conclude, this is where I conclude, these are monsters of iniquity. Period. Monsters of iniquity. They are promoting a narrative throughout the world. We've talked about this already in 2 presentations. The narrative, of course, is coming from people like Klaus Schwab, not exclusively, but I will say whoever controls the narrative controls everything else. And here's how I explain the Great Reset. We're not talking about technocracy today. You can get my books on that. Technocracy is to societal structure and operation. It's a transformation of the global economic system. Transhumanism is to the humans who live there. Does that make sense? You've got a 1-2 punch here. You're creating this brand new utopia, but do you put old version 1.0 people into this new utopia? Well, that would be dumb, wouldn't it? It's like, to them, of course it would be dumb. You don't put new wine into old wineskins. You put new wine into new wineskins, and so it will stretch and conform, and that's exactly their thinking on this. They're not thinking biblical, by the way, but that's a biblical concept. These people are transforming the whole world, and when Klaus Schwab says the Great Reset, do not think he's just talking about one singular thing. There are two parts to the Great Reset that is very clear on their website. Technocracy is to societal structure and operation as transhumanism is to the humans who live there. That's why the bums rush is on, to change, get control of, and to change human DNA into their image and their imagination. How frightening is that? You know, I just maybe want to conclude with this. While you think about some of the people that are players in this, I'm not going to tell you who these are. This is a mystery to you. You can figure it out. You know some of them. But I do want to say one thing to you, because I realize some of you in this room have relatives, maybe grandparents, maybe parents, that were greatly affected by the Holocaust in Nazi Germany. And I just listened to a video by Vera Sharav, amazing. I want to tell you that this whole thing is nothing more than warmed over eugenics from a previous century. Don't ever think it's anything really new. They've just relabeled it, they've extended it, and it is just as alive and well today. And I showed a slide in some other presentations on how many times after World War II, the world said, never again would we allow this to happen. Never again. What happened? We're right back where we started. Nobody saw it coming. And now I agree with my former colleagues here. Now is the time to stand up again and say never again. Not only stop it, but never again. And of course, there's more people in this that are involved in it, but these are some of the key people, key players that are controlling the narrative right now. Some in our country and some on a global stage. I want to close with this, I think. My book, The Evil Twins of Technocracy and Transhumanism, is by far going to be probably my final word on this. It's not covering anything really that I've said in the past, but we need to see this whole thing that's going on in the world now in a new light. If you got a mind to take an early peek at it, it'll be out, I think, by Thanksgiving, or by Thanksgiving, certainly by Christmas. You can go to patrickwood.substack.com and you can subscribe there. I kind of want to leave you with this. Andrew Breitbart, I didn't bring the quote up, but he said something like this. I'll say it again. I'll paraphrase. A good fireman runs toward the fire. A good policeman runs toward the gunfight, right? A good soldier runs towards the battle. That's how we won World War II. We're challenged now in a war that's been declared on humanity. If we do not respond, we will certainly die. Now, we'll certainly die anyway, eventually. But we will die young if we don't stand up and run towards the fire, towards the battle. This is just simply where we are, and I'm sorry to say it, but nobody wants to do, we don't want to do that because life is good in America. We need to keep it that way. That's what our ancestors said that ran into the battle in World War I and World War II and the Korean War and other places around. We need to do it again, and the time is now. Thanks.
Welcome, James Scott, who is the owner of Barely Bruised Books. Thank you for coming. Deeply appreciate you having me here tonight, Odessa. Thank you.
Well, thank you too. A lot of people have been following you and some other people and trying to wrap their head around the amount of information. So this could go on for days. So you and I decided we will just start with what's provable right now. Well, you can prove everything, but you sent me 5 or 6 or 7 documents that we are going to look at, and I'm just going to let you take it away as to what we're looking at, and I'm going to give the links to everybody in the description after this. So should we start?
Amazing. Yeah, let's do it.
So tell me what they're telling us here, the most important things.
Okay, well, that document is from the Standards Council of Canada, and as the headline states, it says Canada is at the forefront of exploring biodigital convergence. Now, in the first paragraph, they bring up biodigital technologies as a new field of research exploring the interaction between digital and biological technologies and systems, digital technologies inside humans, the redesign of living organisms. Um, they mean the redesign of all living organisms when they state that. They also get into that in the very next paragraph that Canada is leading international efforts at IEC. IEC are the International Electrotechnical Commission in Geneva, and they're a worldwide standardization group and have been for all electrotechnical issues, including 3G, 4G, 5G, the smartphone I have in my hand, etc. And they've been doing this for a very long time. Well, IECs lead to investigate and propose a roadmap for standardization in the area of biodigital convergence. IEC established standardization evaluation group SEG 12 on biodigital convergence based on the work of Crystal van der Elst,
Mhm.
Director General of Policy Horizons Canada. Now, Crystal van der Elst, I know I watched you do video on her before, Odessa, and as you know, she's in the Canadian government. She's also former head of strategic foresight in the World Economic Forum and CEO of the Global Foresight Group in Geneva. Now, later on in that document, near the bottom, they get into Francois Collier, SEC Governing Council member, is to lead this as governor of biodigital convergence from the IEC. Francois Collier, if we go to the IEC website now, I can show you some of Francois's work. And Francois, like I stated, I think I told you, this IEC group is in over 170 countries. There are people, if you scroll down a bit, I'll show you there. You scroll down. Yes, right there. So they're in 170 countries, responsible for 10,000 standards, 1 million certificates, and 20,000 experts. They are also responsible for the standards of smart cities, standards for blockchain, standards for metaverse, and a whole bunch of issues if people actually use their search engine. Now, I think I gave you day one an introduction into biodigital convergence from them. So this is an introduction to biodigital convergence from the IEC. And as you can see there, it's the convergence of engineering, nanotechnology, biotechnology, information technology, cognitive neuroscience. Now, in that right there, that report there, if people look closely, they'll see a link with Mihail Rocco. Yes, that link right there. Now that, as I was saying, was converging technologies for improving human performance. That leads to the US government website. They do claim this, as you can see, that this has been going on for actually 20 years and a lot has changed. If you keep scrolling now, so they get into the reverse engineering, they get into reverse engineering of life. They get in for a human. This is for us. This is not for. This is for us, as they're clearly stating. If you keep going down, so now we get into all the nanotechnologies there. Now, as you can see, they bring up a bunch of different nanotechnologies involved in this, including epigenetics, proteomics, genomics. They bring up synthetic biology. They bring up biosensors. They bring up computational biology. Now, this is happening right now. All this stuff that they're showing right now on a massive scale. And some people don't realize that this stuff is happening. When there all those uh, epigenetics and protomics and all the genomics, all these nomics revolve around a thing called nutrigenomics. And this stuff is in our food supply, this stuff is in vaccines, this stuff is in supplements. For example, when you look at computation biology there, computational biology, I know that there's a man now getting a lot of attention in the US called Dr. Shiva. And Dr. Shiva is definitely involved in this. Now, he created the email. He's involved at this in biotech. He owns a biotech company in MIT. He also has the first computational biology platform. Most people don't know this stuff. They would never, like, they think of Dr. Shiva as like a natural man medicine sort of guy. They also bring up like informatics, and on the next page, biohacking, biobots, cyborgs, animat, artificial organ. They get into GMOs, cellular agriculture, molecular farming. They have geoengineering at the top there, and smart cities. These are all smart city standards. If you keep scrolling, Odessa, now, see, all those WGs, those are working groups all over the world. And they get into, as you see, reverse engineering of live systems, life systems and bioengineering, human augmentation, agriculture, bioengineering. Now, from my understanding, these technologies are not only in our food supply, but that they are doing this reverse engineering on us with these technologies. And I would say that they're going to bring in the rest of the stuff that I was talking about. If you keep scrolling, I'll show you what I mean. You see all those WGs are attached to these technologies now that we were just talking about. If you keep going down, and now you're going to see the UN sustainability goals being involved. So yeah, they are UN are actually responsible for the standards from the UN too, and their climate agenda and their health agenda. They get into that it's a time-based project below there. If you keep scrolling, Odessa. So that delivery date, it says 18 to 24 months. Now, 18 months has already passed since this stuff is going on. As you clearly saw, they brought up that it was a 20-year concept too. If you keep scrolling down. So yeah, we're on this agriculture bioengineering. Now, if people look closely at this stuff, it says they're going to bioengineer the forest, agriculture, or they get into livestock farming, cellular agriculture, they get into molecular farming, including the Internet of Things, and body computing for animals. So it's not just us here. Not just us. If you keep scrolling down, they get into genetic engineering, the UN sustainability goals in WG6, where we are right now. They start talking about environmental bioengineering, including geoengineering, to follow the UN sustainability goals. And if you keep scrolling right there, yes, the reverse engineering of living systems. Now, I brought up the omics before. And if you keep scrolling, they get into the countries, some of the countries that are involved in this. Unfortunately, it involves all the countries. If people take very close look, now here we are, these omics, genomics, protomics, but these omics, if you keep scrolling, are involved in everything from nucleic acids, peptides, amino acids, proteins. They also get into a company in the European Union, and they have the white book for standardization in synthetic biology. If you keep scrolling, right there, yeah. Now, as I was saying, that BioBoost, they have this white book on synthetic biology. If people read that white book, it's in everything. They're doing this to everything right now. And they wrote those standards back in 2018. It's also a Horizons initiative. If you heard me bring up Policy Horizons with the Standards Council of Canada stuff, there's also a Horizons EU. If you scroll down a bit, yes, right there. So I was saying these nucleic acids and peptides and amino acids and proteins, we're eating a lot of products with this stuff in it right now. It's a bit mind-boggling that nobody knows any of this stuff is going on, because they later get into, on the next page, neuroscience and understanding the brain and how it functions. They talk about the molecular and cellular level. Now, from my understanding, they also bring up like neural engineering, neural imaging, neural informatics, and optical imaging of these neural systems. If you scroll down a bit, yes, that right there brought up the imaging that you passed. But this neuroimaging, I would say that they're doing this with the products that we're consuming. And I would say that they have like fluorescent properties. And I would say that these fluorescent properties are being also done through a number of different ways. And that they're actually not only watching what goes on inside us, that they're actually doing imaging of our brain, of our blood brain barriers with these products. If you keep scrolling down, it will bring up like 3D optical imaging of neural systems. It also gets into the standards development organizations that are doing this stuff. And it seems to be the head standards organization involving this is ISO. ISO, as you can see right below there, standards development organizations, they bring up biotech, they bring up health informatics, genomics, food products. They also bring up using the horizontal method. From my understanding, this horizontal method is called horizon scanning. Anytime they refer to the horizontal method, that's what they're referring to. They get into this living system standardization. There we go. 32 members from ISO, national, international SDOs, industry, academia, covering agriculture, health, biotechnology. They get into the countries that are involved in this. Canada is big on this one. As you can see, Canada's mentioned there. They also get into underneath that, if you keep going down, they get into this stuff being right there, being involved with biosensors, biometrics, biofoundries, bioprocessing, biofuels, drug discovery and engineering, synthetic biological circuits. These circuits are being built inside of us. And I would say that they're doing it for this artificial life organ on a chip and artificial organ stuff. You can see the topics, and those topics are biosensors, human digital twins, synthetic biology, artificial organs, CAR T cells, and CRISPR technology. If people don't know what CRISPR is, it's a gene editing technology. They also get into like bioelectronic nose. They don't mention the other senses in this one, but there are several documents talking about giving us like other senses besides olfactory. If you keep scrolling down. So these biosensors and bioelectronic nose, I think they can like only due to the documents I'm reading that like it not only affects like our olfactory system, that it will also get into our other senses. And if you keep scrolling down, so human digital twins. Now I know I showed you a document from Nokia is a big player in this digital twin game and involved in our smart city infrastructures too. Now you're seeing ready to meet your digital immune system. Now, I would say these new senses are going to come in. If you scroll down there, and they're talking about this digital immune system right now. Like, I would say this has all happened within the last couple of years. They bring up where is it? If you keep scrolling down, there's one area that talks about how this relates to smart city infrastructures. So yeah, they get into this like 25 cells lay the root to personalized medicine. Anytime they also bring up, if people look closely, these T cells that I was just talking about. And they bring up the Human Genome Project right there
Mhm.
in the orange. As you can see, how else can digital twins be used? And they'll bring up smart cities from town planning to street lamps. They get now, from my understanding, this involves LED lights. They also bring up the network to monitor operations and improve available services, biological processes, the immune system to see deeper into the human body. And I would say that they're doing this stuff right now, not only using things like LED lights, but also the cameras on our smartphone. Now, if we go back to the IEC, now I only brought this up because we were in the digital twin area.
Okay, so before we get into this page 81 that we found when we were looking for stuff, if you guys see a lot of clips in this, it's because I'm scrolling to look for stuff and I don't want you guys to have to sit through it. So I've chopped it all out in editing till we get to the page we need. So, James, when we talk about like how we know they're already doing this through geoengineering, through what they're spraying on us, through our food, through pharmaceuticals, through the vaccine, like what is it that what ingredients and what things are they putting into us that are allowing them to already be partway through this agenda?
There's several things. Graphene would be the most known. There's also a thing called luciferase. There's also several other nanotechnologies that give off like a fluorescence, including fullerenes. They seem to have been using that even back in the 80s and maybe even earlier. But there, so some of the products people should be looking out for on like the ingredients list are silicon dioxide, titanium dioxide. There's even EDTA, believe it or not. And if we even read all this report, there's even an area where I can show you that they're actually, well, we have to go into another link, but they're even using things like methylene blue. Now, I know that's being recommended right now, but I can tell you this methylene blue's been around in the health industry since the very late 1800s, but they rely on this bioluminescence. And anyone that takes that methylene blue can clearly see that it gives off a bioluminescence. Now, if people go to my Facebook page, they can see that I've recently, or my Twitter page, that I've recently posted how this methylene blue, which is just one of the products, just one of the products that it couples with the nanotechnologies that are currently in use. I certainly don't think it helps with them. Um, but I would say graphene oxide is the stuff that's most currently being used. Definitely in the shots. There's also, like I say, luciferase. I can even trace this luciferase, which is like if you know about this technology, it's the same stuff. Like if you see a firefly, how you can see that bioluminescence in the firefly. I have documents clearly showing that this was actually put in milk back in the 90s. So, like, it's in everything. It's in everything. And I don't mean to scare anybody, but the fact of the matter is that I don't think the control system is in yet completely, which is this smart city infrastructure.
Mhm.
Everything you're seeing on these reports are smart city standards, and I think we have a lot more power to stop the infrastructure there. So, like, personally, I don't like the government monitoring inside me, but once they start to get control over those products inside me, where they can control my movements and stuff, uh, I think it would be a lot worse than what they're doing now, say, with my smartphone. I
And
hope that
and
makes
and, you
some
know,
sense.
they act like they have no idea why cancer's spreading so bad and so many people are getting it. It's almost 1 out of 2 now in Canada, almost. I mean, this stuff they're putting in our body is not meant to be there, and the disease is off the charts.
It is, yeah, and I would say it's all designed that way. I really do feel it's all designed that way. I think the people that do live through this system are gonna be like cyborgs and live as probably cyborgs for the military industrial complex, if you're to believe the documents they're showing here. But
Mhm.
yeah, uh,
You guys, you could say this is loony, but I've shown in one of my shows, I've done a couple shows on DARPA, and I don't think it was the most recent one. It was, I think, quite a long time ago. And I'm sure you've seen them, James. You've seen everything. There's a man at DARPA teaching everybody in the workshop, all the big wigs there, we already have the technology ready to go where we put thoughts into people's brains.
Yes, that
And
would be Dr. James Giordano.
okay.
And believe it or not, that man, I actually have a video with that man talking with who's the truth doctor speaking out right now, allegedly. I can't think of the man's name. It will
Malone?
come to me.
Is it Malone?
No, it's not Dr. Malone. It's Dr. David Martin.
Okay.
And yes, and I actually have, I think I retweeted today his involvement in this. And like he's talking, if people actually look into him a bit further, they'll find out that he's involved in this stuff too. And he's been like, yeah, I don't want to go there into him tonight, but
Well, I
without
know
like the
he's
proper documents talking
so
about it.
so Dr. David Martin, he helped wake me up just when they were rolling out these things into our arms. And he was talking about like he was good at outing he outed like the patents on everything and he's really been outing the vax. But are you worried? I haven't been following him lately. Are you worried that he's not outing this part enough?
He's not outing this part, even
Okay.
though there's videos with him clearly talking about that he knows all this stuff. He's just
Okay.
not telling uh, the same people where he does his like COVID things. Like if you're to read Policy Horizons document called COVID Foresight,
Mhm.
um, possible shifts and implications, it clearly states that COVID, like the best practices to identify, treat, and isolate COVID could prove invaluable in responding to the intentional synthetic biology pathogen called biodigital convergence. Now, that's how I read that. And like, he's not talking about that. He's talking about COVID.
Mhm.
Whether or not someone believes COVID exists or not, I personally have some questions there. Remember people testing for the flu before? I think there's a lot of problems with these tests. I think
Well, the flu disappeared in Canada. We had something down to like 4 cases at one point during flu season. So, yeah, when COVID came, the flu was gone. It just didn't exist anymore. And then after COVID was sort of gone, all of a sudden, flu is off the charts again and filling up our hospitals. And anyway, we all know that. But, here's the thing. We've all talked to so many people like in the freedom movement. And I have to say, there was something that was weird during the COVID thing, but 95% of people were fine. But I have had people say that was a really weird one to do with the breath. But we're in bio warfare right now, and we're
we
being
are.
hammered with EMF and 5G too. So it was weird. And I think the freedom community will fight about it forever. But at this point, it doesn't really matter. We just know that they're putting these chemicals into us to put us into smart cities. And I asked James, I said, James, what am I supposed to tell people? Like, what is our action step here? To send all these links to all the MPs and the leaders and the doctors and the universities saying, we know what you're doing. We know what you're spraying. I mean, they're not even denying geoengineering anymore. Did you see in one of the states? They're like, I think was it Tennessee? I can't remember. One of the states says we won't allow geoengineering anymore and they're saying it's for the sun. Well, I've seen diagrams in here where it's for the whole thing. And so they're spraying us with all these chemicals. We're eating them. They're in pharmaceuticals that people might need. I don't know if they're in like antidepressants and stuff, but they're
They're in
probably
everything. This stuff is in everything. And
okay.
like, if we go through these documents, like, it will clearly state that from the National Nanotechnology Initiative. And these products are in, like, the stuff is in everything, everything from the soil. If we go to day 2 of this document, or if we keep reading the document we're on, they'll get into in page 100 of this. If you go to page 100,
You
they get.
guys, everybody's got to just go to these links. It's so overwhelming that I'm just like, I don't know what to do here, James. You got to present this. You guys have to actually go through these documents, whatever. And some of it looks kind of like not nefarious at all. And then you get into how are they doing this? And they're already halfway there. Um, it's very evident. Now, just to finish my thought, James, I was saying, what are we supposed to do? What's our action step? What do we tell people? And you were saying that, like, I guess as of now, we're already got this stuff in our body. The best thing we can do is say no to the smart cities the way we came out and said no to the vax, right?
Yes, for sure. But I think that's going to take a lot of organization.
Mhm.
I know I sent you my friend's link today, where he discusses this. He has the same ideas that I do, and I think that he also shares a lot of my research and has all this information on his website. Has all of it. Has everything from the IEC to Policy Horizons to the other standards organizations involved with this, which are IEEE, ISO, ASTM. There's a whole bunch of them.
I see this website. I'm gonna bring it up too. Do you wanna go to the website now, or do you wanna keep going on this document?
I would actually go to day 2 of the IEC stuff. I think
Right.
I know you have that. There we go. These standardization opportunities are for human augmentation technologies. If you scroll down a bit, so there we go. They mean, so then they bring up these WGs again, which are the working groups we just went through. These are all of them are human augmentation technologies. If you keep scrolling down a little bit more, there. So they're human augmentation. They bring up the standards organizations involved, which are IEC, ISO, ITU. They bring up IEEE, ASTM, and CSA. These standards organizations are literally everywhere. And their ISO is responsible for smart cities. IEEE is involved with that too. The head guy at IEEE responsible for this stuff, his name is Ian F. Alkowitz. He has patents. He's been writing, like people have probably heard of the Internet of Things and the Internet of Bio. Some might have heard of the Internet of Bio Nano Things. That seems to have originated from a guy named Ian F. Alkowitz at the IEEE. He also has patents for graphene oxide in our bodies. He has he's writing up a bunch of documents too. Not only is in the IEEE, he's also in the ITU, and that's the International Telecommunications Union. They are ran by the United Nations. Some countries have already fully converged into this stuff. According to Ian, he talks about Ukraine already being in this system, but like these are the standards organizations, and if anybody knows any electrical engineers, mechanical engineers, computer people, they're going to know all these groups and they're going to know that they're real. I'm bringing this information up to every single person I meet, not only in my bookstore, but on the street. The easiest ones I find to have this conversation are the people like electricians and stuff that know these groups are very real, even
Mhm.
though they have no idea any of this stuff is going on. If you,
Well,
if you-
can I say, you know what was kind of like, I can't even believe they put the video out. I think it got further than expected because of truther podcasters. Ukraine war was literally 2 weeks in with the newest Ukraine war. And they're like, we have already designed what we're going to do when we rebuild Ukraine. It's going to be the first smart city where they're talking about where you don't own anything and you rent everything. And I'm like, okay, do you know how long it would have taken to put that together? They're already talking about how they're rebuilding Ukraine within 2 weeks of the war. So they were expecting it.
of course they were. They're I would say that they've also been expecting it with this Israel Palestine stuff. Israel is also at the forefront of this
Right.
bioconvergence, and Palestine, like there's a university in Palestine that was writing up reports in 2018 talking about how they're bringing in the blockchain with the smart cities in 2022 and 2023. And I find it kind of convenient that this war is happening there. I would even go as to far, I don't know if you ever heard of Web3, but I would say that they're like Web3 games. I know most people aren't going to understand that, what I just said, so I probably shouldn't have said it. But Web3 is like the blockchain. Uh, all this stuff is attached to the blockchain. If you keep scrolling down a bit,
Thank you. Well, we didn't actually give you our permission. Thank
Yes, right.
you.
Yeah,
We
nobody gave me
nobody gave permission, like the video I showed opening this.
no
Nobody gave
permission.
permission.
They don't care about
Uninformed
permission,
consent. God, I should call Todd Harris again and go, you want uninformed consent? Number 2, it would be this.
for sure. If you keep scrolling down, so I know went through, like, they have this chart again where they clearly have the UN sustainability goals and all this being hooked up to the same stuff. If you go down to, I think people need to see this geoengineering. If you go up a bit more, now I know I was getting into our food supply and stuff before. So they got cellular agriculture there. They have underneath of that, they bring up geoengineering.
Yep.
And you can clearly see a plane dropping aerosols from the sky from that diagram.
Mhm.
And I would say a lot of this, geoengineering that you're seeing, if people look closely at that document, they'll see carbon capture, solar reflection, genetic engineering of deep-rooted crops. They bring up biochar production. Now, I know that not like biochar production is actually another UN sustainability goal that people aren't aware of. Nobody's talking about this stuff. I would say it also includes graphene in the soil through the experiments with the aerosols coming from our skies. I know a man told me 10 years ago that I know is very, very intelligent. I was walking down the street with him and he was looking up, and I had no idea about geoengineering at this point or none of this stuff. And he looked up and he said, planes are dropping aerosols from the sky. He goes, it's not only just for cloud seeding purposes. He goes, more importantly, it's for graphene nano biochar production for the genetic engineering of our soils. Now, I raised my eyes at that and I kind of like, I didn't want to think about it. Uh, I might have even though I know this guy's very smart, I might even raise my eyes a little. But here I am 10 years later, and I'm seeing international standards regarding this stuff.
Yep.
Exactly what he was saying, you know? And if people look closely at this over on the side, they're talking about like this has been going on for a very, very long time.
Yes.
And yeah,
Yep. There was someone that worked for, God, was it DARPA or CIA? He was some bigwig, and he said, whenever they say we have a breakthrough in technology we're going to start using, he goes, just assume they've been using it for years.
yes. And I would say that they're using smart dust for these projects. And it is coming from DARPA. Like that is one of the main players here. But yeah, if you keep scrolling there, urban climate informatics there. Now, if people look closely at that, they're talking about right over there in the blue, humans as sensors.
Now
Um,
that is what made me go, what the heck, when the Policy Horizons thing was exposed years ago. It was like a person, it said, we will become part of the Internet of Things. They said it.
they said it. Yeah, they said it. I would say we're already part of that now. With this digital twin technology.
You know,
Uh,
can I just say, people are like, more and more people are having ringing in their ears, tinnitus, anxiety, uh, feeling like, when the power goes out and it's like, oh, it's so relaxing. And then when
mhm,
the power goes back on after like a power outage, everything zips back up. People are having eye problems too. When my husband unfortunately went kind of blind in one eye, fairly blind in one eye, we announced it, and the amount of people saying, "I have eye problems too." So many people are having eye problems right now. I was telling you, when I am driving at night, which isn't very often, thank God, I'm in Vancouver and I'm right near like where they are putting up so many of those purple lights, and they keep saying, "No, that purple is when it starts to burn out." Well, I had another guy on, I'm sure you know who he is. He's from the States saying, "No, no, no, that purple's for something else." They're saying all these lights that are turning purple is just because it's burning out. Well, what, do they not replace them? Because when I go through those purple lights, before I knew anything, I feel nauseous when I go through them. I feel like something's crushing my head, and I have to like squint and look away. When I see them coming, I will go the long way There's something weird about those purple lights.
Those purple lights are like what I know when we're on that Nokia page, they're talking, they are definitely involved with this stuff. It's the LED lighting system. I would even go as far as to say if you have LED lights in your home, that they're involved with this stuff too. It gets into visible light communication. It's involved with something called Wi-Fi, and that I'd say is the new internet of the smart city infrastructure. Um, but yeah, I don't know what to say about all that. But when on this page, or is it page 39? I don't know. Are we on page 39?
One sec here, almost.
They get into like smart sensors, and I
Yeah.
would say that's the
Oh, there they
smart
are.
dust. Okay. And I would say it's in our water supply, it's in everything. It's in everything.
And if
Um,
someone says, "Oh, smart dust," well, I looked it up before the show, and on YouTube, all the scientists are just talking about it, how great smart dust is.
mm, yeah, that's what yeah, they also get like on page 48, water-based epidemiology. Sorry, I have issues saying that word. Um, but in that document, they're talking about monitoring our water with a water-based like biosensor at the bottom there. I think this stuff is in everything. They also get into these digital twins again.
Yep.
Yeah, uh, and their smart city infrastructure, right? If you keep going down a bit, they get into,
Digital
oh
twins
yeah,
of the
digital twin of the earth. It's digital twin everything. Every single technology has a digital twin, including the food, the plants, even the soil, everything. These digital
Look at
twins are like
this.
virtual
Look at this.
replicas.
They
Yeah.
have, like, a robot watering our plants that they've sprayed toxic shit all over us, toxic stuff in our arms, but it's green, guys. I mean,
And if in Policy Horizons Future Work Report, they have a robot picking a tomato. So, like, right, I think the farmers stuff that you're seeing happening, there's no farmers in this world either. It's not no farmers, no food. It's no robots, no food, according to them. But yeah, if you went back up to the search engine there of IEC,
okay.
I could show you how the graphene is involved. Right there, Dr. Francois Collet, Internet of Things and Digital Twin Applications. So that's Dr. Francois Collet, and he wrote this up very recently, like I think it was last October. If we scroll through that, so now see all this stuff that we were talking about before. Now they have actual standards attached to them with the groups that I was talking about. If you go down, so now there's the graphene that I was bringing up. I would say everything. Like you see this guy, he has like a fluorescence in him, this bioluminescent stuff. I would say that graphene is the big power structure there, as I was stating before, besides a whole bunch of other products. Like these links, like also have a bunch of other links people can go into as you've seen.
Mhm.
Um, it's
It goes on
mind-boggling.
forever. It just
It goes
goes
on forever.
on
It goes
forever.
on forever. Page 28, they'll bring up smart everything everywhere. Yeah, smart everything everywhere. And then underneath it gets into our smart cities stuff there. Now, they're talking, that is not just the city, believe it or not. They're talking about making everything smart. And they'll even like have smart society up at the top, because they're talking about like smart healthcare farther on down.
Can I
It,
ask, I just remembered, is it like, when it's in our body, what's it doing to help them make us part of the Internet of Things? Is it self-assembly? Like, what is
it's
happening?
self-assembling. All these nanotechnologies are self-assembling. Now, nano refers to the size.
Mhm.
The technology refers to smart self-assembling, advanced materials. And I would say these products are assembling inside us. Like, yeah, I know I showed you that like synthetic circuitry and stuff like that. I'd say that they're building this circuitry inside us right now. And I would say they have an overall plan that they think is going to be finished by 2030 with this metaverse smart city infrastructure. I think I showed you those MC Rocco reports. I know this report that we're on, in the very first page, they bring up, if you go back up to the top of this, right here, they'll bring up this MC Rocco there again. If you look very, very closely down there. Now,
Okay.
he's from the National Nanotechnology Initiative. Now, I know I gave you that link to the US National Nanotechnology Initiative. I know at one point you even had it up here on tonight.
Okay. Oh, here it is.
Here, this is a recent one. Now, the one that I was leading to was actually written in 2000. It's like a 480-page report where they're talking about this stuff in 2002, what's happening now, and they're literally putting the dates. In this report that we're looking at right now, they bring up several things, including the mRNA being involved, including
Oh, and I see the word quantum dots. Do you want to talk about that?
yes. Yes, quantum dots, these quantum sensors. Now, the IEC was calling those quantum sensors when we were like at the biosensor stuff. But I would say that this quantum tech, that they are monitoring these quantum dots, are not only can be monitored, but they're part of this self-assembling nanotech, and they can be monitored. Not only monitored, that like anytime you're hearing about quantum computing and stuff like this, that I would say like we become the quantum computers in their new world. Anytime you're seeing this, them refer to convergence or nanobioinfocogno, all this stuff of like, I know that 480-page report from the exactly same guy, although he's writing this in 2023, he was writing reports and textbooks on nanotechnology back in the 90s, but he's gotten full government funding since Clinton under this National Nanotechnology Initiative. And every single politician has been in full support of this since then. And it seems like they've been in full support of this since then everywhere in the world, not just the US, in Canada, in Brazil, in Mexico, in Israel, all everywhere. If people look into this National Nanotechnology Initiative, he's constantly getting funding. He has several other organizations. Like even this document, if you keep scrolling down, they'll tell you all the organizations involved in this at the US level. But they do bring up mRNA there. I don't know if we.
Okay.
I think it's
Okay.
page 8.
And what I was going to say though, we think that stupid MPs, I'm sorry, but most of our MPs are pretty dumb in regards to the bigger picture. Like I used to go, oh, it's nanotechnology leggings. Cool. I didn't know. Most politicians are just worried about getting votes and think that all this new scientific stuff, they say it's to save people from cancer. They say it's to help people who have brain injury. There's no reason that the average sheep, which, we've all been, would think, well, no, this is great. They're trying to help people. And some of this stuff can help people who've lost a hand or damaged their brain. We're not saying that there isn't some good to this. But when we think that politicians, lower down politicians, actually know what is being sprayed on us, what we're eating, that it's bad, the average doctor has no idea.
They're
It's
they're
it's
yeah.
such a nefarious top-down major corporation, International Trilateral Commission, the top of the UN. We would never think that they'd purposely put something in our vitamins, that little extra ingredient, to start to get it to be so we're connected to the internet. So when we just assume that like every president or politician should know they're doing this, I just don't think so.
I know some do.
Okay.
And like since this MC Rocco has been writing reports on the US government, he's also been meeting the Canadian government. I actually have a video of him in 2010 talking to the Canadian government. And I can prove, if people go to my page, and look up like Maxime Bernier funding this stuff back in 2006, he was. I know a lot of people think Maxime is going to save society. Now, I questioned Max in person, not about, I didn't, last Canada Day, I was asked to do a speech in front of Max, not by the PPCs, by someone else. And I went down there. Another person got me on stage and just said, go up and say what you have to say before Max gets here. And now I didn't know his involvement with this at that point. I do now. And like I do now. Now I did know, I did ask Matt, like I was telling people about these policy horizons documents back then. And I was saying, like, if you think Max is going to do something here, maybe we should be questioning him, because I'm bringing this information up to regular people every day. The majority of people don't want it. They're wondering why none of the politicians are talking about it. At that point, I did my spiel. Now, there was one guy in the audience that knew about Crystal Vanderels. And he did say he was going to question Max when Max got there. When Max got there, he didn't. But the same guy who got me on stage got me to question Max, and I told Max the same stuff I said on stage. I was like, Max, what are you going to do about the biodigital convergence and the next digital economy from Policy Horizons, Crystal Vanderels?
Mm-hmm.
And he switched the story to the World Health Organization. I told him that's not what I was asking him, that I was asking him about this policy arm that I can clearly prove has been in our government since 1996, even while he was an MP. And he then said he didn't want a digital economy, which I didn't think was clearly answering my question. I told him that. Now he looked at me in the eye and he said, they're very powerful people. And I said, well, Max, why don't you get up on stage and tell them how powerful? Now he did take one of my pamphlets that has some of this information on it. But he got up on stage and talked about how how vaccines were only needed for the elderly, and he brought up transgender issues.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I'm talking to even the transgender people about this. They don't want this either. If we could all get on track, nobody wants this. And it doesn't matter if they're an anti-vaxxer, a vaxxer, a supplement user, a trans. The people I'm talking to about this, the majority don't want them. Some want to be hooked up to the internet, like some want a Neuralink. They're a very, very small percentage of people, and they don't want to force you with it. They can put on their VR headset or da 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 da. They don't want to force you to do that. Okay, they're already able to do that. So like, if people could get on track with this, I know this information does wake people up. If we could get some focus, like an ethics committee, in
Well,
our
they have their little ethics committee on these.
yes, they do, but that's not, and their ethics committee, their bioethics is involved with misinforming people and propaganda. That's what it's involved in. Okay. And that's why it has to be an ethics committee by the people, where everybody is first informed. Now, if you go up there a bit, it will bring up
Oh, yeah.
this one right here. Now they'll bring up like this digital like fusion economy and stuff. I have reports with Dr. David Martin from 2007 with the exactly same diagram. So like, personally, I would question that if I saw this and then saw Dr. David Martin report from him talking about this. Unfortunately, I think they're all involved in this. They're still talking about COVID. They're still talking. None of them are actually talking about the science. And it's very, very alarming when I see the products they're recommending and I look into those products, and I can clearly see from the documents I'm reading that there's these nanotechnologies involved in these products. Like I can trace ivermectin nanosensors to like 2008. Nobody seems to know that. Nobody seems to know that unless they're following me on my page where I keep posting this stuff. Now, personally, I think it's kind of strange that a person like Dr. Robert Malone, who's an mRNA inventor, talking of like telling you to take ivermectin. and people taking that without question. If the products that they are promoting have nanotech in it, like the documents that I'm reading clearly state they are, um, I find it very, very strange that these doctors are still using like this straight out fear factor. Avoid the vaccinated, they're shedding, da da da, but then sell you a product that seems to have nanotech in it. Um, all I know is that I haven't taken any of the products that they recommended. If I forgot to show you on the IEC website, but this even gets into the colloidal metals. Like there was one document at the IEC that brought up metalonomics.
I saw
This,
that. Yeah, I saw
yeah,
that.
yeah.
So
This
what does metalonomics mean? Like,
metalonomics would be like these colloidal silver, iron, stuff like this. All these different metals you're seeing in products.
mhm.
You're also seeing it in the natural, like the people that are pushing natural health
Mhm.
stuff. They're now. I
But
had
here's
no
the
idea.
problem. Here's the problem. I mean, to each their own, but there's some vitamin companies or whatever, like 100% pure, no extra stuff. Okay, so let's say we actually even found one where truly there was no extra anything. It's just pure vitamin, right? We know it's synthetic, but
Hmm.
but they're spraying it on our food too.
That's it. It's there's no way around it. There's really
Yeah.
no way around it. But I do think that they want us taking these products on a regular basis, and the ones that are probably in pills and capsules and definitely gummies. I know gummies are definitely has this 3D printing technology,
You mean like regular gummy bears or like pot gummy bears, like
like
oil?
pop gummies, all the vitamin gummies, stuff like that.
Okay, if
All the
someone wants
gummies,
to
like
look into
literally
that,
all of them.
if
But
someone
like
wants to look into that, like where do they look to find out, like again, what ingredient are they looking for that will go, "Oh, that's nanotech."
Like I say, on this supplements, anyone can look at the ingredient list there, and a lot of the ingredients will say like silicon dioxide,
Mhm,
titanium dioxide, iron oxides. Those are definitely nanotechnologies. Also the liposomals, the probiotics, all this stuff that I'm looking at. I can prove if people go to my page that are involved with this. I'd even go as far like all the nootropics, nutraceuticals, uh, all this stuff is involved in it, unfortunately. Um, I would even go as far as to say, like, it's a great way. Like, I don't know if you heard of fullerene C60s, but those are definitely pushed in the natural health too.
okay, so I
I
have
would say,
another question. So, because I was thinking about the show and it's like, I went to take my vitamin D and C today. And, I feel better when I'm taking my vitamins for some reason, especially my magnesium before bed, especially, when I have another problem, it makes a big difference. But it's kinda like the vitamins might be in there that help us, right? But then there's this other thing that could be making us sick in a different way, right?
well,
Like, what do you do?
that's how 100%, like the vitamins would be there, but I would say that they're targeting certain areas of your body with these nanotechnologies with that. And that's probably why it's working. It's probably why it's working. Now, although I don't take, like, I did take vitamin D for a while, about 3 years ago, like 3 or 4 years ago at the beginning of this, and I did take colloidal silver one time that a friend made,
Mhm.
and but the fact of the matter, although the colloidal silver did not work, the vitamin D I did feel good. I did take vitamin C for a while too, but I did stop taking that stuff now. And concentrated on like taking fruits and vegetables instead.
Mhm.
Yeah. Uh,
Okay. So, okay, I don't want my audience to be like depressed and jumping off a bridge. Don't do that. Don't do that. We are living in a very interesting time, and we're all meant to be here right now. We are being used as guinea pigs for something that they're saying is so great, and there are parts of it that could be great, while they slide in this other stuff that helps us become giant walking antennas. I
Yes.
mean, so there's these 2 different things happening. One's nefarious and one maybe not, and not everybody knows about it. But the fact is, like, people are getting more and more disease, like, even on CBC or whatever when they do their 60 minutes, toxins in our food, toxins in women's makeup. That's what they're talking about, things we're reacting to and we're getting sick from. So I feel like the best thing we can do is go to Choices or whatever. They're so expensive supplements, but go and ask somebody which ones don't have any of the garbage in it. Because a lot of the natural ladies that work at Choices and stuff, they're like us, they know. So we should be saying, I don't want anything with any extra stuff. And then we try to eat organic, but they're spraying us like,
I don't think that people know anymore. Like I say, I think unfortunately, like how should I word this? Dr. Shiva, I'll use him as an example. Um, who's definitely involved with this system. Every time that man literally says systems engineering and a systems approach and he's referring to this biodigital convergence.
Mhm,
If people go in and look at his biotech company called Cetasolve,
mhm.
they can look at some reports there that talk about like using social media to benefit them and I don't think everyone knows that they're being everyone that is pushing these products online know what's actually in there and they think it's for the betterment and
Well, I saw, I see some of the drama where, good podcasters, good people get accused of, "Oh, you're promoting this product from this company. That means you're one of them." It's like, "No, that's not true. None of us know what's going on." There's very few people that do. And then there is truly the, like, alternative medicine people that they really think it's good too. I don't think as many people are nefarious as we think. We just we everyone's trying to use products that can help with other kind of injuries from this, and I don't think most of us truly understand which ones are bad and which aren't. I like to give people, the benefit of the doubt. And when I saw everybody trashing the wellness company, I remember thinking, thank God I didn't like get all involved in that, because everyone's bashing anyone that got involved in it. And everyone, like, the people I know, they have a good heart. They want to help. And so to find these thousands of documents that show, no, it could be laced with this inside it. It seems like even things that help our body could have things in it that help us become the Internet of Things from what you've seen.
yes, I would say that everything we're consuming, at least on the shelves that are being promoted like this, are involved with this. Another term people can see on these supplement products is microcrystalline. That is
Mhm.
definitely involved with this stuff too.
Okay.
Um, there there's a whole bunch of different names. It just goes on and on and on. Like I say, liposomes, lipids, these are all nanotechnologies, all of them.
And if you
Um,
think about it, I mean, God, Mother Nature, whatever you want, they gave us everything we needed that was growing naturally from the earth. Anything that ends up hurting us is always man made.
for sure. 100%. And like, I do think I do think when people see this stuff, like I personally, I just don't want to see this fully come in. I don't
Mhm.
want to see any neural imaging of your brain and happen. Definitely without your knowledge. I don't want to see you hooked up to the Internet of Bio Nano things or smart cities infrastructure. And I don't think the rest of the world wants that either. I know they don't. I know they don't, but I know that
Unless
they're
they're in a
using.
hospital setting, where, like, my husband went in and they're like, "Okay, this one test," which it turned out he actually did need. They're like, "For us to see if something's wrong with the vascular system going to your eye, we put in this, like, dye, and then we time it, how long it took to get to your eye." And it was important because it turned out that was the one test that showed he had something wrong. Everything else, they couldn't find anything. And he said to me, like, "I don't really want to put dye in my body. And we know this is all terrible. But in the hospital setting is a bit different than they're spraying it all over and putting it us to be all the time,
They
right?
are. I think you read that like document from Horizon. They're talking like there's a coevolution too. Um, of biodigital convergence where they're talking about like all those natural flavorings
Yeah.
you're seeing in the products and stuff like this. This is involved in this too, unfortunately.
Mhm.
Unfortunately, they bring up Nestle products, they bring up all this stuff. It's in everything. The fact of the matter is the infrastructure isn't fully in yet, and every single document I'm reading talks about how this is involved with the smart cities infrastructure and how that is bringing in everything else to full convergence. Um,
Mhm. That's what
there,
we gotta stop. We
that's what
have
we
to
have to
stop
stop.
that. You
Yeah,
know, if look at how well we're doing with stopping the carbon tax because we know it's based on a big scam and they're gonna use that money to greenify everything, is to spray us and do this stuff with us. I mean, everything they're doing, all our taxes go to attacking us in a way. So there's so much to go through, and if people want to follow you like you've looked through some of these documents, you're not pulling stuff out of your butt. You've read this. It goes
I've read 400. I've
yeah.
read books like the when we were going through the National Nanotechnology Initiative. I think the last one, I've read books written by that man that are 480 pages long.
Right.
And in 2002, and I read a book from 1999 too, a textbook talking about how these nanotechnologies. But the fact of the matter is the infrastructure isn't fully in yet.
Yeah.
And according to this MC Rocco guy, who the IEC are talking about, and da 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 da, the
Mhm.
infrastructure is supposed to come in very, very, very soon. And we're talking like 2030. And it could even be pushed a little faster than that. But the fact of the matter is that people are waking up to this information.
Mhm.
um if I know that if we could show them before, like, um people are waking up to this information. I even made shirts with this information trying to
What's it
um
say?
that says, have you heard of the biodigital convergence? And it has
Uh-huh.
IEC and Policy Horizons Canada. um I made pamphlets with this information. These are some of the pamphlets I have. um
Okay. Can people get them from you online and print them off themselves?
they can, and they can also go to my friend's website that I know I showed you there.
Yeah.
And he is the big hero here right now. The man who made this website, now he goes by Love Billy on the website. He has my phone number attached to this. He also has a great number of researchers that it's mind-boggling. He
Okay,
has me
so
as a
the address is the web address I got it here is biodig as in dig, biodigcon.com. I'm gonna spell that out. BIODIGCON.com. I will put that in the links as well so that now he's got that. And what should we do with it?
he's got so much information on there.
Mhm.
He also has stuff to bring up
You can't
to
see.
politicians. He has a PDF that people can also download that has this even in a simpler format than I do here. It's a
He has a
wonderful.
video of a girl explaining what it is.
Well, that's Julianne Romanello.
Okay.
And Julianne Romanello is in the States, and she is wonderful at bringing this information to her community. She's been bringing this smart city stuff up to her community. She's
Mhm.
realized too that the smart city infrastructure is the final goal, and that's what we have to stop.
Okay.
Doesn't matter if we took the shots, didn't take the shots, whatever. This is the goal here that people have to get focused on. If
Yeah.
they go to his website, they'll
Mhm.
have all the links, not only videos of me talking about this, of Julianne talking about this, great research that literally leads to government documents and standards organizations that
Okay.
are bringing all this stuff in. It's very easy, I think, for people to get a gist of what's happening there.
We need everybody to go there so that you can send this out and Your contact info's on there, his contact info's on there.
His contact info isn't on there, but mine is. And like, if you are able to contact him, but like, he has my phone number on there. He thinks I think he thinks I'm much better at explaining this. He's only started this website due to me and a couple of other researchers.
Mhm.
I seem to be the person that's not afraid to give my phone number. And so he's put that out, and he has put out that it's my, like, the research he thinks people should be looking at is mine, Brian Mitchell, Julianne Romanello. He has a number of great researchers on there. This all involves the blockchain too, and like, this stuff all involves the blockchain. And
Well, for those people that want even more info, you've got where you can contact these guys. I don't think your phone should be ringing off the hook. I don't think that's good for you. I think you have links. I mean, I've seen on your Twitter. Let's see. Okay, people need to just start following your links because you're telling people where to go because you don't want people phoning you, James. That's going to be
I don't mind people phoning me. I don't mind people emailing me. In fact, I'd rather them phone than email me. They're welcome to call me. My number is 613-981-7718. They're welcome to follow me on social media. They're even welcome to come to my bookstore and
Mhm.
watch me have this conversation with regular people. Okay,
Okay.
I have no
Where can
problem
people
bringing
follow
this
you?
information.
On Twitter, what is your handle?
On Twitter, it's Barely Bruised Books.
Yeah, Barely
Uh,
Bruised Books. Okay.
on Facebook, it's James Scott.
Hmm.
There's On Instagram, it's Barely Bruised Books again. People are welcome to contact me. I'm all about organization here, so yeah.
Okay. On Facebook, you're putting out links daily. You're talking
Uh,
about new stuff. On Twitter, you're putting out links daily. Barely Bruised Books or James Scott. I'll put the links in the description. I mean, you haven't even touched the surface barely. We just
no,
had to get, we wanted to get through showing that this isn't something pulled out of the sky. The documents are there. They're doing it. It's a matter of then finding out what other thing they're putting in the chocolate bars or in, the pharmaceuticals that helps this agenda along. Because no one's going to say, oh sure, I'll just take that extra chemical that for some reason got added 5 years ago. We don't really know why. We don't understand. They do these big words. Well, they're not going to say, hey humanity, are you okay if we like put all these chemicals in your body and see if it's going to work for our smart city? Nobody would say no, yes.
nobody would say yes. And yes, it is an additive in everything. Okay, like, these are additives, and it involves not only 3D printing, advanced nanomaterials, and
Mhm.
that they can monitor inside of us. They can also control them inside of us once this whole infrastructure comes in, and
Mhm.
probably can control them a bit now. But the fact of the matter is that they're doing this without anybody's consent,
Mhm.
anybody's opinion, except for the stakeholders. That's
Yep.
the only people they care about.
And
And
stakeholders means huge corporations, big business. And yep, the guy at DARPA said, um, with nanotechnology, we can actually control people's thoughts and control politicians. He said that. They
mm,
haven't already. So, I mean, everything's coming together. It's everywhere if you want to find the info. And
the
we
info is everywhere.
yeah, yeah.
But the stuff that wakes people up is the government info, and that's what we were showing tonight.
Mhm.
Okay, like, all those standards organizations are running the standards in your government, and they're running them right now. It's not tomorrow, it's not next week. This stuff has been going on. These are the same standards organizations responsible, like I say, for 3G, 4G, 5G. And now in 6G, they're talking about putting us in the metaverse for smart cities.
You're right.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So,
James,
I do think we can stop this. We have more power at the municipal level, and our community, if we were to start like an ethics committee of concerned citizens that were actually warning everyone, everyone in their community, And we could definitely work on these solutions together, and we definitely grow in number. If we were to focus, we have more power at the municipal level of our government. If we were focused on them about, but because I can trace Ottawa being a smart city since 2016 with
Mhm.
like an LED council with Nokia, the people we're talking about there being a big player. Most people think Nokia vanished off the face of the earth. With BlackBerry involved, most people think they vanish off the face of the earth. They're involved with your smart city infrastructure. It's already in place, but you have more power at your local government to take this down, especially if we were warning people and had like an ethics committee, like I say. There are other people right now in Canada doing this.
Mhm.
Okay, there's people even in Ontario doing this right now that are
Mhm.
trying to bring this attention and focus on how they can remove the smart cities infrastructure.
Well,
If we
this
were
girl in
all
the video that I was talking about, I watched it. She did a good job, just waking the townspeople up, going, "Do you understand what smart city is?" A
Mm,
lot of them don't. So I can't thank you enough, James, and I'm sure you're
no,
gonna have updates for me. If you ever feel like you need to come back and say, "Now they're doing this, Odessa," you just give me a text, okay? And,
I will, Odessa. I'm very, very happy you had me here tonight. Thank you very much. I really appreciate you getting the word out here.
no problem. Have a great sleep. I know you're 3 hours ahead. This episode's gonna take a lot of time to, edit together because it was a work in progress as we were going. So it should be ready in a few days, and I will text you when it's ready.
I'm really pleased, Odessa. Have a good night. Thank you very
You
much.
too. Thank you so much.
Okay, bye.